Please enjoy this feature presentation of the Crooked River Radio Network. This program is rated for all audiences.
Buckeye Time is sponsored by CrookedRiverRadio.com. Crooked River Radio is an internet radio station that is live 24/7 playing rock and adult contemporary top 40 hits from the 60s through the 90s. You can find us on Live 365, Simple Radio, Roku, Radio Garden, and even Alexa, as well as our website. Come on and join us on the Crooked River.
Welcome to Buckeye Time. All Ohio all the time. Sports and intelligent conversation. Here's your hosts Erik Nannarone and Pat Morrow.
Go ahead. Erik.
Sorry, I was muted. I know.
What? Huh?
Hi.
Huh? What?
And welcome. Yeah, that's nothing new.
You see what I put up with, Scott?
Okay. Hello and welcome to Buckeye Time. I'm Erik.
I'm Pat, I think, somewhere. Let's see if we really are or not.
Today we have a special guest, Scott Simpkins, who is, what's your title with the group, Scott? Are you like president and founder?
Yes.
Okay. President and founder of Stow Backs the Blue. Tell us a little bit about the group.
The main focus of Stow Backs the Blue is to gain and build community support for our police officers and what they do day in and day out.
When did the group start?
I started it in 2019 when the media was tearing up the police as a whole pretty bad. You know, I saw that it was affecting people that I knew that were police officers, and I felt that we needed to do something as a community to show that we support them. And it started to really take off this past year.
Are you or were you a police officer at any time?
No.
Interesting.
Nope, just have a lot of respect for that profession.
Okay, Erik.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Sorry, I'm
brain farting.
Yeah. Love when that happens. But so with that, what, like, I know we had talked a couple days ago, and you said you had a lot of connection with the local police, and I know you do an event for the community and the local police. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well, we try to do something for the police officers around each holiday. And the thought behind that isn't necessarily to celebrate the holiday, but it's more to take their minds off of it, because most holidays that we celebrate, they don't really look forward to, because those are higher crime days, higher drinking and driving days. So it can be very hectic and very stressful for them. So we try to do things to kind of ease up the tension a little bit. And then in August 13th, we're going to do a meet and greet cookout. And it gives the opportunity for anyone that would like to come out to meet the police officers. They can talk to them, ask questions, because the more people are informed, the better they'll understand what the officers go through on a day in, day out basis.
What are the things you do around the holidays for them?
We'll do food platters, desserts. You know, a lot of times we'll do like snack bag stuff they can grab on the go. we've had where people take cards in, with words of appreciation. Just small things to let them know that the community supports them.
Are there any other groups in any area that you're aware of that's doing the same thing? Are you guys that unique?
Not really locally. I have been people contacted me from Hudson. They were interested in starting a Back the Blue in Hudson, but I don't believe that's gotten off the ground yet. But it's been very surprising. In 2019, we sold T-shirts to help raise money, and just through advertising on our Facebook page, we ended up selling shirts as far south as Miami, Florida, and as far north as Canada.
I believe that.
So what started out as just a small idea really exploded quickly, and I'm very happy for that.
I do a lot of public service stuff myself. I'm an amateur radio operator. I do one of my hobbies is weather. I actually run this thing called Skywarn for Summit County, and we're all the time working with public officials and that. So I'm, when you're out in the public like that, you actually get to see quite a bit of the stuff that you wouldn't want to put up with, and you actually sit there and watch these poor police officers do that stuff, and you just gotta shake your head sometimes.
And that was what was so frustrating, is when the media was attacking the police as a whole, and I'm like, and this is what I tell everyone, is there's very few professions out there where somebody can wake up in the morning knowing they might not come home, but they'll do it every single day, hopefully for 30 plus years till they retire, but they're willing to put their life on the line for strangers. And I think it's the least that we can do as a community is to say, hey, thanks for doing that for us.
How can people get involved within the group if they want to?
They could contact me either by phone or through social media. I try to make myself available in many different ways for people to get a hold of me. If someone is interested in volunteering or helping out in some way, that would be fantastic.
Gosh, I'm brain farting. I'm sorry. This is really bad. God.
All right, Erik, sit back and take a deep breath.
Thank you for taking over, Pat.
I'm not taking over. You're still gonna do this.
No, I know, but
take a deep breath. We'll cover this. Is there, as far as your group is concerned, is it just a local Stow thing, or would you branch out and cooperate with somebody, say in Akron or Talmadge or anything like that?
Right now, our main focus is strictly with Stow, but I would have no issues in trying to help out another community. It doesn't matter to me if it's a big city or small. If they need some support, then absolutely we would support them. I
know I have a police officer across the street from me, one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet, and I live in Akron. I'm kind of sort of in Ellet, but
okay.
My street address is actually in Akron, and I wondered when all this stuff in Akron started happening. I don't think he was involved in it because he's been home off and on, and it looks like his schedule hadn't changed. But I'd help him out in a heartbeat. He's actually asked to if I wanted him to come over and mow my yard before, because he bought himself a new tractor. So, as far as that's concerned, I have all the respect in the world for this dude. And
it like to broke my heart a couple weeks ago. I was talking to some police officers because we had a float in the 4th of July parade.
okay,
And, I'd put it out there to any of the officers or the retired officers if they wanted to be involved with it. They were more than welcome to. And, they're still very nervous about, the public perception. They were worried of, not being a positive reception.
sitting on the other side of that, though, wouldn't you be?
Oh, absolutely. And that's part of what I'm trying to do is, one of them told me, he said, he goes, an off-duty firefighter can go into a restaurant or a store with a shirt on that says they're a firefighter, and people talk to them real cordial and thank them for what they do. Police officers don't get that. If they were to go into a store in their uniform, they're liable to get yelled at, screamed at, confrontation. So I'm with this group, we're trying to minimize that as much as we can to get people to, it used to be a time where, people looked up to police officers, and, you tell your kids, if you're ever in trouble, you can go to the police and they'll help you. I'd like to try to get back to that.
I would too. It seems like this world has gotten completely nuts, and it's politically, we've gotten to the point on this on Crooked River here that we won't even talk politics. It's not going to happen. There's too many.
It's a very hot button topic.
There's too many hot button issues to even if you mention certain words, you can see people get red in the face over it.
Right.
But as far as I like organizations like yours because they're actually out there to help people. I did have Are you as far as what would help your organization the most? Would it be monetary? Would it be volunteers, or both?
Probably both. And I'll say anything monetary. The way that works is, like we sell T-shirts and yard signs and things like that. Any money that isn't for purchasing more product like that, every single dollar goes to the police department.
Go ahead.
This year we're going to split the money between two programs. One is the canines, and the other one is the Police Officer Memorial Fund.
I take it you're 501c3 then.
Yes, we are.
That's great. I'm well aware of that too. I am actually the president of the Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Club, and we are.
Oh, nice.
We are a 501c3 also. So any way we could help the group, And I've got a listener here that is a friend of mine that was asking what kind of help you're looking for. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
My cell phone number. I say I can give it to you.
Okay, if you want to, do you mind doing it on the air here? Or?
No, as much stuff as I've done in the city of Stow, most of them have my number as it is. So, yeah, I'll give it to you. It's
okay, go ahead and give it to us.
330-592-0415.
Okay, repeat that again.
330-592-0415.
And this is Scott Simpkins.
Yes.
Okay, that's probably the easiest way to find out for anybody that's listening. This particular woman that's talking to me her name's Ellie. Hi, Ellie. She's a dog lover and everything else, and she loves stuff like this. She loves to get involved in stuff. So, I mean, she's stuck with us for about a year now. She must be something wrong somewhere.
Yeah, that's a scary thing that someone's stuck with us that long. But when it comes to like the police, it seems like they never get good publicity, and there needs to be a way that we can help get them good publicity. Like, do you have a suggestion, like, on how we can do that? Because that's a big thing. Like, they never get, oh, hey, this officer did something good. It's always the other way. How can we help reverse that?
Right. And, what you see is whether it's an individual officer or an entire department, if they do something good, it's almost like it's expected. So that's not looked at as newsworthy. Okay. No one wants to hear, oh, the cop saved a kitten out of a tree. But the minute something happens and something very negative happens, that's when all of a sudden now that's newsworthy. So what we need news media and social media to be equal. If you're willing to run a negative story, you need to run the positive stories too. Because if they started running positive stories, they would outweigh the negatives 10-1.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like just in general, news, the negative sells. Nobody wants to hear, like you said, nobody wants to hear the positive, which is kind of sad in itself.
Well, a lot of times I've seen here in the past, they either don't want to or they've been told not to come up and say anything for fear of making something worse or something to that effect. And these other, whoever this happens to, I'm going to make a statement after this that you can agree with or not, but a lot of times these people will take and the ones that get the noisiest are just out there to make the noise. And a lot of times, as far as I'm concerned in the past here, I've seen huge groups of people. We've had riots over this stuff and everything. And it's just, you get the same group of people, or it seems like the same group of people, always making the noise and the good things. I've always believed in random acts of kindness.
Yes.
If you're going to take and make a difference in your community, you need to do it one person at a time, or a group at a time, or something to that effect. As a matter of fact, last night I think it was, my granddaughter was out at the fair, and she couldn't afford a horse ride, and a cop was, or her mother was going to get her a milkshake, and there was a cop in front of them when they went up to the window, and she bought the milk. Or she went to get the milkshake, and the cop had already paid for it.
Oh, wow.
It was a random act of kindness.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, I appreciate the hell out of that. This little girl ain't got the best thing, going for her. She has to live with us.
Yeah, and that's a trip in itself.
Watch it, boy.
That was one thing I had explained to my son. He's a middle teenager, and when I started this, I told him I said I wanted to do something. I couldn't stand watching the news anymore and seeing the way this was going. And he had asked me, he said, "Well, what are we going to do?" I said, "I'm going to start right here in my town." I said, "You have to start somewhere, but the biggest thing is to start and do something." And so that's what we did. He's with me in almost everything that I do. And, I want to set that positive example on how to act as a young adult.
And that's the best thing you can do. I know my three children, who've actually been on our shows and everything here, my youngest now is in her 40s. And my son I think he just turned 50. God, I'm getting old. But he's approaching 50 if he's not there. And they were raised, I wasn't there all the time for them. But when I was a father figure. And that's what a lot of these kids don't have nowadays. Their parents work and what have you, and the influence isn't there a lot of times. We've had discussions about this in the past on
Very much
all
so.
the shows
That's one
here.
of my favorite topics.
But, with the male influence being there, and even if it's reversed, the female influence, it's not going to be the same no matter how you cut it. So you have to do and make do with what you can. And that's what unfortunately, that's what a lot of this society has dealt with. And I'm not making excuses, but could that be a reason for some of the crime rates and everything else that goes on? And people not understanding what life is doing to them.
Right.
And understanding the importance of police officers and what they are, instead of having the surrounding, your friends or whatever tell you what police officers, their perception of police officers, or what their parents say about police officers. If they had the right parental influence, then they might be able to see really what police officers are here to do, and that they're actually really good human beings.
Yeah, truthfully, I personally feel that a majority of the ones that are attacking police, one, they don't know any police officers personally or closely, because if they did, I think they would change their tune. I've been very fortunate to get to know quite a few of Stow's police officers, and they're very warm, very nice people. And they're neighbors. I mean, most of them they live in the city. You run into them at the grocery store, at the gas station. You drive by and you see them cutting their grass. I mean, they have a job to do like everybody else, and people unfortunately don't respect that.
Like when I was in school, I was close with the school resource officer. Like, he was a really nice guy, really cool guy. But, that was kind of right when I graduated, was kind of right at the beginning of the, anti-cop in 2015. So, and things have just gotten worse since.
Something that's been brought up as far as these, like this Trevon, what I call it from Akron here, the action. We're not going to go into the political or anything like that end of that, or even much of a discussion on it. But as far as I'm concerned, if the guy didn't do something illegal to begin with, he would have never had the issue. And the cops are in the unfortunate position to actually have to correct that.
Yeah.
If he wouldn't have fired the shot out of that window, they would have never killed him. But as it was,
No.
they thought he was a threat. And when you're a threat, it don't matter what you have on you or not.
Yeah, I mean, that was a sad situation that those 8 officers have to live with that, regardless of the outcomes or anything else. Each one of them has to live with the fact that they know they took a life. That's not something that weighs easy on anyone.
And that ain't easy.
So I feel for those guys that had to deal with that. And, I feel bad for a family that lost a family member, but it all could have been avoided, had he not taken off.
I've always said, Scott, life is full of choices. The ones you make is going to be your path.
I say it quite often. Every choice, has an action. Sometimes there are consequences, and you have to learn from that. You have to decide, is that choice you're going to make, is it worth it?
Isn't that an old Darwin theory or something? Every action has a equal and opposite reaction. Yeah.
It was one of them. It might not be Darwin, but
I'm old.
Yeah.
I'll turn 68 in September. So I'm old. I'm a codger. That's why everybody likes me. I say what I think, no matter how bad it is.
That's all right.
So
Life's been, what is that old song? Life's been good to me so far. That wasn't that what's his name from the Eagles?
Isn't that Joe Walsh?
Joe Walsh. Yeah, he's actually a ham too. But
oh really?
yeah, we invited him down to field day, which takes place in Stow. There, we go to the Silver Springs Park over there.
The campground over there.
You know where the Groundhog Hill is there in the back?
Yes.
In front of the campgrounds. We're usually there once a year. Last weekend of June, we do this thing called Field Day, where we go completely off the grid and run radios for 24 hours. It's supposed to be an emergency test, but it always turns into a contest. In fact, this past year, about a month and a half ago now, we actually had a Stow police officer out there.
Oh, nice.
So we had the mayor of Stow also, who I have been an acquaintance of for since about 2004. He used to, when he was working for Acme.
Yeah, he's been in Stow a very long time.
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on him ever since I started, and watching. He was actually in the school board there for a while, and then he ran for mayor. I know. John's a pretty good dude.
Yeah.
He's the best. At least in the time I've lived here, the best mayor that we've had. He's done so much for the city.
He's out in the public quite a bit more than the other ones. I know the last mayor is now the head of the Parks Department over there in Cuyahoga Falls. I talk to her every once in a while. But that's something else as far as community involvement, where you're going to get the most of it. I'd like to do more of it myself here, but we need to get groups like yours, Scott, involved in letting us come out and work with you too.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I mean, that's why you'll notice, like on our social media page, you don't see my name on there because it's not about me or the other people that work on this. It's about the police officers.
If you'd like to join our group, Crooked River Radio, what is the name of the good Facebook group? That's Crooked River Radio Network, isn't it, Erik?
Yeah. Or it's Crooked River Radio Network. Both of them are.
The one
because you have the Crooked River Radio page and then the Crooked River Radio Network.
The network thing is the one I'm thinking of. If you want to join us there, you might be able to. If you want to put comments in there, pro police, whatever, that's fine. If you want to advertise your group a little bit, you're welcome to do that.
Oh, that would
too.
be great. Thank you.
At least get the word out. I'm open to that. And also Buckeye Time here, you're welcome to do that.
Oh yeah, I'll make sure.
You might.
I'll make sure I sent. Oh, I commented a link to our Buckeye Time page in on your comment, Scott, or on your post in the Stow Backs the Blue page.
Oh, okay.
So there's a link to our show page.
Great.
So. But,
yeah, we're hoping for a nice turnout for the 13th this year. The last one we did, we had a little over 100 people came out. We had canines came out and did a little demonstration and visited with the kids. The kids absolutely love the dogs. At the end of it, we were able to present the chief with a check. Trying to remember, I want to say it was right around 1,400, 1,300, somewhere around there. that felt nice to be able to take money that was donated from the community and give back to the police officers, to the canines. There's lots of expenses with those that people don't necessarily think of, between vet bills, food, uh, their uniform and protective gear, and so
Yeah.
hopefully that helps out.
Yeah. We should get together on some kind of charity event with Crooked River and you guys.
We'd be open to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe we can make you our roving reporter, Erik.
Yeah.
As far
That
as
would be good.
this thing on the on August 13th,
Yes.
Yes.
will there be?
So,
I tell you, there won't be anything as far as electric or anything like that out there. We'd have to pretty much run a remote from the car. Am I correct with that?
probably, because I know we'll have it goes from 1 to 4 on that Saturday. We have all kinds. We'll have food and beverages, and there'll be tables for people to sit at, things like that. But I'm trying to remember. I don't believe there was any electricity.
I think what we could probably do would be doing what we're doing now, except we'll do a remote, put it on the air, and actually do a Facebook transmission of it. We're actually, when we go live, we go through 7 different formats. Anywhere from our website to which is the crookedriverradio.com thing, to we have an account on Twitch. We're broadcasting on Twitter. We do Facebook, of course. D Live. What am I missing, Erik?
Vaughn Live.
Vaughn Live.
You said Twitter. You
And
said
Twitch.
website. Twitch.
Hmm.
Then I think that's it. Live wise, but then they could catch us anytime on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
We have quite a bit of downloads in the podcasting community too. In
Nice.
fact, the station's been here about 2 years, 5 months and a couple of weeks. I think it's been. We've actually been putting stuff on Spreaker. We're at about 3,900 downloads. So,
Oh wow.
Yeah.
it's nothing spectacular. That some of that time between there, I hadn't put anything up, but I think
Hey, you gotta start somewhere.
we're doing
But-
great. Month-wise, we're hitting somewhere 200 or 300 podcasts, or 200 or 300 downloads a month, somewhere in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we don't do too bad. And it's, this would be the podcasting's probably the best format for organizations like that, because it hangs there, and anybody in that area or whatever is more prone to listen to it down the road. I know when I used to drive, I was always listening to a podcast, and I know several other people that are doing that or do that. It's always good to be able to crank it up and not have to watch it. And I think that's why it gets as popular as it does. I used to listen to some pretty weird stuff, and I've listened to different organizations stuff too. And it's always fun. And I think as far as popularity goes, I think I think what's going to happen, Facebook is going to change tremendously here in the next couple of years. And they're going more to a video thing. They want to compete with TikTok, and I think that's going to ruin the social media part of that. I'm just hoping something else comes along that is better than what this is.
as I've said to Pat multiple times, with podcasting and internet radio, to a point, you gotta build your local connection listener base before you broaden your listener base out. So, interviews and shows like this really help us because it gets our name out there and helps get your name out there, your organization in this case. So I think, this helps a lot for both of us.
And it's fun.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
If you would have told me 20 years ago, you're going to be sitting in your basement, you're going to be broadcasting all over the world, I would have said, yeah, you're nuts. But yet, here we are.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't really, the bad part about it is it doesn't really take a technical guru to do all of it. You just learn as you go along. I know I got the idea from a radio station, or from an internet radio station that came on, about 5 or 6 years ago now? Karma. I shouldn't even mention them. But they got me started in it. I saw how easily they put theirs up. And then we went to work for another one over here in downtown, or down in the valley.
Yeah.
And when we went down there, it was that's where I had met Erik, because I interviewed him.
Yep.
And that was a fateful day.
Yeah. It was probably Pat's worst nightmare. But
when you make like in any business, you take and make friendships and acquaintances, and it gives you stuff to work with. And I know as far as exposure stuff like that, the more a group is able to get into any kind of exposure like that, is probably the best thing that you can do. There is one thing that you might want to try and see if he might show up at your event. Take and get a hold of Hank from 330 to Go.
I thought about reaching out to them.
He came out to our field day event and did a marvelous job. He did a half hour on us, or it was actually cut to 23 minutes. And he told our whole story. I would highly recommend him. Hank, and I think, what is that other guy's name? Is it Jerry? Hank's the actual one I talked to.
Okay.
So you may want to contact him and tell him your event's going to be there, and have him ask him if he can come out and do a clip on it.
There's Hank.
Yeah, I'll send him a message.
There's Hank, Jerry, and Blake.
Okay.
So
The Jerry's the other one I've been reading quite a bit on. Hank actually really does a lot of driving.
Yeah.
And he's actually been covering the.
I appreciate the way that they're running that format. It's very informative. And
he's no slouch. He actually just cuts to the truth, and he's not one to take and try to fabricate stuff, which is what you want.
Right.
When he did our interviews with us, he you could tell he was having fun, but he was always asking, what do you want me to ask? And I'll take and filter it from there. And he did a nice job.
Yeah, I'll definitely reach out to him.
Yep. But I mean,
I hate to ask, since Erik is running out of steam here.
Yeah, sorry. My brain is apparently dead. But go ahead.
I hate to ask, but what I was going to ask what what your feelings were on that shooting, but I guess we covered that a little bit. As far as it doesn't it seem to you that the world's going crazy? Let me ask you that. That's a good one.
What I'm seeing is a trend in people not taking accountability and wanting to blame others for their choices.
What about all
And
the?
it's
What about when you talk about stuff like that? What about all these shootings and everything? That's, like that Chicago thing a couple of weeks ago, where that kid got in that mall and blew everybody away. Wasn't that?
Oh, on the 4th of July.
Yeah, the 4th of July thing.
I
Then you got
I
Uvalde
see
before
these
that.
shootings, and I think a lot of them boils down to the younger generations don't seem to know how to deal with disappointment or rejection very well. Some people call them the participation trophy generation. I mean, not making excuses, just observations, but I mean, guns have been around, readily available for decades, and it seems within the last 20-25 years that they've really kind of all of a sudden it's like, where is this coming from? And then the shooters always seem to have that same issues, the loners, and there's a lot of hidden problems, and I just think they haven't found that outlet on how to express what they're going through, and they find this to be the easiest way.
I think if
you bring up an interesting thing, which actually we had talked about on our show a few weeks ago, about a month and a half ago, about the kids not knowing how to deal with issues. And I would like to hear your perspective on this. They'd rather hide behind a phone screen instead of dealing with their issues. That's how they cope with issues. They just hide on social media. Like, what's your view on that?
I definitely see a lot more kids today. Well, technology wasn't what it was when I was a kid. I mean, there was a video game system out there, but I didn't play it. I was outside every day. The street lights came on, I went home. Now,
you were in
with
my
all
generation.
the different social medias and phones and tablets, and that's what people are interested in. They don't want to go out and play, and I don't think they're getting that social interaction like they should be.
Can I ask what age bracket you're in?
I am 40 years old.
40? Yeah. I'm from the, as I said, I'll be 68 next month, but in 2 months. But what I was asking that for is you said in the comments about the street lights. My mother always told me, when you see that street light on, get your butt home.
Yep.
Okay, Mom, not a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'd get home from school and I was told, go play, don't come home until later. I'm like, all right,
not a
so I
problem.
go play.
I think if kids had more of that today, of course, then again, you got to worry about if you did that with your kid, would he ever come back home?
Yeah.
As far as if he wasn't kidnapped, or
there's a lot of things to worry about.
Some pervert out there down the street wants to take.
Would they consider that neglect because you're not watching your child 24/7? Would a neighbor call the police and say, "Oh, you're neglecting your kid because you're not watching them 24/7"?
I still think we'd be better off with more tackle boxes and less Xboxes.
Agree.
I agree too. I do have one comment from the field here that I feel I got to read.
Okay.
Their parents say that, but it's my little darling is a good boy.
That's another problem. The parents always take the side of their kids. The kid is never in the wrong, and that doesn't teach the kids anything.
Well, there again, if you take away some of the social media and crap, I think things would be a whole lot different. Maybe the changes Facebook is proposing might be a good idea. We ought to do a little research on that. But Ellie says you can't. I don't think you can blame that on technology. It's changed since time began.
Well, then again, to the point I was trying to make earlier, though, is these kids are internalizing stuff, hiding behind the screens, and not getting the help they need.
But
if there's some kind of mental help that they need, like counseling or something, and they're because of a traumatic event, and they're just hiding behind their phones, then that's not a good way to cope with it.
Scott, how many children do you have?
I just have one boy.
Would you know if there was something, if he was taken and started acting weird, you'd know it, right?
Yes.
I'm about to make a point here. That's why I'm asking. I would too. If I started getting on Facebook and my children were acting weird and posting weird crap and that, I'd know it. You know, I'm still the father, no matter what age they are. And
luckily, me, my wife, and my son, we have a very good relationship, and he can talk to us, and he does talk to us.
And that's the way I raise my children.
You know, if there's something bothering him, or if he just doesn't know, you know, he'll go, hey, you know, can we talk? Sure. We'll go sit on the porch and we'll talk. You know, so I think that open dialogue definitely is a big plus.
I've always told my kids, you know, if there's something you need to talk about, I may scream at the end of it. I'm not gonna take and deny that. But if you have something you need to talk to me about, or you need to talk about, you come to me and don't worry about it. I won't, you know, I will judge you like you're an adult, or I'll try to see it from your perspective. Not a problem. And my kids are all, right now, two of my kids are in healthcare, and the other one's he's a statistician for an electric company down in Dallas. And as far as, you know, that was always my policy with them. Did I ever yell at them? Oh, hell yes, I did. If they did something stupid, they were the first to know about it. Yep. Actually, the second. But, you know, my kids are all, I raised them smart. And, you know, it baffles me sometimes, like that thing in Chicago, that thing in that mall up there. Oh, I didn't have any idea my kid was like that. What, are you blind?
Do you not check your kid's social media? Because, like in most cases, it's, oh, they have a manifesto or something on social media saying that they want to kill someone.
And then
like the kid in Uvalde, Texas, who literally texted a friend and said he wanted to shoot up in elementary school that day. You know, that's a red flag.
And then you take my kid's so good, I'm going to go out and he's 18 years old. I'm going to go out and buy him a gun, an AR-47. What the hell are you thinking? What in the living God's hell are you thinking? Your kid's talking like this stuff. Do you have no idea? And this is another thing I attribute to the society like it is today. It's weird.
Well, I mean, in that case, with the society today, goes back to what we were kind of talking about earlier, but taking it to another extent, the single-parent homes where the parent is working 2-3 jobs and can't be with the kid, so the kid's kind of by themselves all the time, and they don't hire somebody to check in on the kid.
My friend told me, Pat, you do weird things on Facebook. I do not. I post weird crap just because
Yes.
it's there.
One thing people need to watch. You can only control so much, no matter how hard you try. But if you pay attention to who your kids are running around with, if they're running around with kids that are constantly getting in trouble, you're probably going to go down that same path. But if you watch who his friends are, you'll get an idea what kind of stuff they're doing.
And the problem is, nowadays, with social media, it's not just kids bullying kids, it's other parents bullying kids. And, I mean, there's cases where kids have committed suicide because another kid's parents, like, there was one case where it was the girl's neighbor, which was an adult, who was bullying her, and she ended up killing herself.
Yeah, I don't know when we lost sight of it, but people seem to have found it to be socially acceptable to degrade other people all the time. It used to be, I remember hearing when I was a kid, if you didn't have anything nice to say, you didn't say anything at all. Now it's like there's no filter. It doesn't matter, how brutal they are. They'll sit there and they'll tear up a little kid talking to them, and it's like, why? What
Exactly.
What positive is going to come from that?
Interesting question here, but I'd like to get the perspective of both of you on this. If a kid is bullying someone through like text messages or whatever, does the school have a right to take the bully's phone as a piece of evidence, or do they not? Because I've seen a lot of people say that if it happens out of school, even if it's a classmate, the school has no right to act on it.
Well, for me, if my son were bullying somebody that way, then I would hope the school did, because I'm not going to protect him. He deserves to be punished for what he did. And if by taking that phone away and not showing what he was doing, then how do you prove, what was going on, and you can't get to the root cause of a problem? I think they obviously need the parents involved in it. You can't overstep the bounds or anything, but I would definitely give the school permission. No, you go through his phone, because after you're done with it, he's not getting it back until he learns how to act with it.
Exactly. And I think my mother gave me a piece of advice back when I was like 13. She told me, she said, you can pretty much do whatever you want, especially after you turn 18. You can do what you want. But if you get, and she says, I'll support you in most anything. But if you ever get your ass thrown in jail, don't you dare call me to bail you out. And I've always carried that with me. And I've even told my kids that. If you get yourself in that much trouble where you're thrown in jail, don't ask me to get you out. It ain't going to happen. Because you probably did it.
Yep.
And that seems to be, we've lost the direction there. I
think there's too many parents want to be their kids' friends instead of their parents.
And I think it's a lot, the kids, or the whole split household thing. With divorce rate being so high now, instead of parents being parents, they're trying to buy their kids off. Either buy their love or buy them off for information about the other parent that they could use in court.
Yeah, I don't envy anyone that's in a split household like that. That's got to be very difficult for all the parties involved.
Yeah, but that kind of stuff has went on for pretty much since the beginning of time. I came from a split relationship. My parents divorced when I was 10, and where it is a little difficult to deal with sometimes. with, especially as far as your kids and your relationship between the parents, your relation is going to be with each parent. The thing that you can't have, and I've seen this so many times, is the fact that one parent will take over and the other one drops out completely.
Yeah.
And that's wrong. I was fortunate enough when my parents did split up. My mother ended up marrying a couple years later, and she married a very honest and hardworking guy, and he ended up having the kind of sort of male responsibility of raising me from about 12 on. And I don't think I turned out that bad. I hated that guy from when he married her. I hated him, but until I was about 20, and then I actually saw what he was. Your perspective when you're a kid is a whole lot different than it is when you're 20 or 25, 30 years old. And looking at it now, I gave that guy such a bad time, and there was no reason for it. So and Erik has tried to. We've talked about stuff like this before too, and he doesn't. I don't think unless you live it and see it, you're really not going to realize what it is, and what the situation is.
And like you just said, it all depends on the situation. It has to be a right situation. Because it's come up because I've said on the air before that I wouldn't mind finding somebody who already has kids. And Pat's correctly told me it has to be the right situation because you don't want to put yourself in a situation.
You have to realize that you're dealing with a adolescent child, and it's that's not easy. I mean, even my situation here now, it's not easy for me to talk to the children here, and they know it, and they don't have an easy time talking to me. They think I'm an ogre, but I'm not. My wife is over there snickering. Even she thinks I'm an ogre, and sometimes I am. But the whole thing comes down to is you have to, if the situation, you have to understand too that I was married until I was married to somebody for 23 years until she passed on, and I came back. I had to rebuild my life. That was all there was to it. And the fact is that when I rebuilt it, I had. You find a whole different set of criteria at 54 years old when you're looking for a mate than you do when you're 20 or 18, 19 years old. You have to deal with the parents. You have to deal with the children. You have to deal with if they've got property. You have to deal with if you've got property, what you're going to do with it all, and this and that and the other thing. There's a whole. And plus you have that adjustment period where if you do decide you're going to start living together, that adjustment period can be a bitch. Excuse my French. But, that's the way it is. And when it comes down to it, it's all workable. And that's the same way with the children thing. You can make it workable, but you have to understand that there's going to be issues there.
Right.
Were you going to say something more to that, Scott?
Go ahead, Scott.
Before I cut you off. The thing is, kids way mistranslate what's taught in school about when it comes to abuse versus, discipline. And they'll if you spank them or discipline them physically, they'll threaten to call the police, which... That's when the police become their friend. But, in other words, like, kids misunderstand what abuse is versus just regular punishment.
I can do more damage with words than I could ever do beating a child.
Oh yeah.
That's immaterial. Were you going to say something, Scott? Go ahead.
No, I'm just listening. But no, I agree. I think there's a difference in between punishment and abuse. But physical punishment isn't always the best route to go. You like you were saying, you can use very selective words and get your message across and get to the root of the problem.
Let me give you an example of what I was saying there. A child sees a candy bowl on the table, and he, without permission, starts to reach down there, and he's going to get himself a piece of candy. You say, "Hey, stop! I told you no." He starts going again. You better stop. Do you know what's going to happen if you take and reach that candy? No. I don't think you're going to want to know because it's probably going to hurt. Do you still want to reach for that candy? It's going to hurt awful bad because I'm going to smack you. Okay. And, that's the kind of thing. And that actually, the way I came up with that a long, long time ago was the fact that you gotta make the kid think. And that's a lot of the issues, even with this flipping social media today. Kids and that don't think. They really don't. They find a real problem thinking. But if you sit there and make them think, that's another story.
This generation and the lack of common sense, my generation and generations under me that don't have common sense. And yes, there's some in the other generations that don't. But
the only way you're going to get common sense, Erik, is to make them work for it. Make their brain work so that it gives them some common sense.
The problem is some parents don't have common sense.
They do the stuff without thinking about it, and that's where part of the issue is. I think there was another comment from Ellie. I do want to get to that for a second here. She asked if I did give him the piece of candy. Yeah, he took 2 pieces. All right, Ellie. She's talking from before a little bit. I was by myself a lot growing up, sometimes for a week at a time. I could have gotten in a lot of trouble, but I didn't. Or maybe I was just good at it and good at not getting caught. There again, Ellie, that's a whole different generation there. Your generation or our generation, which she's about my age, our generation was more trusted than you could do with some of these kids today. Would I trust the young ones home alone for? I have trouble trusting them for a couple hours. And the oldest is now 14, I think, 15. It's not that I don't trust them. I just don't want them to get into anything that they shouldn't be getting into.
Throwing parties?
No, I don't really think that. I think just snooping around and going out and getting themselves in trouble and everything like that, and inviting friends over that don't really belong here. At least when I'm not here. When I'm here, that's a different story. I sound like a grumpy old man with that, but who cares?
Mr. Get Off My Lawn guy?
Yeah, who, me? Get off my lawn. You'll pay for that.
You really need to get off my lawn.
I just heard my mother there. You're going to pay for that. Every time she'd get mad at me, she'd grit her teeth and talk to me like this. Yeah, that's where I learned it. Erik, behave yourself.
You know I don't do that, Pat.
So what do you think, Scott?
So, anyway, it's getting to be that time. Thank you, Scott, for joining us.
Wait a minute.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you one more time let everybody know what your website is and let everybody know how to get in contact with you.
Okay, our website is www.stowbackstheblue.com.
That's all run together?
Yes, it's all together.
Okay.
And then best way to contact me is through my cell phone, and my number is 330-592-0415.
Okay, that's great. It's been good having you. It's nice
Thank
meeting
you very much.
We'll have to. I'll have to hook up with you here. Hopefully by the 13th, we'll get something worked out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here. Okay, Erik, it's over to you. You can wrap it up.
So quick show promos. And now I'm drawing a blank because I forget what day it is.
First is let me do it. Take a deep breath there.
Okay, Saturday from 11 to noon. 4 Guys on Sports with Sean, Gordon, Nate, and Pat. Tales of the Lore Hunters Sunday from 11 to noon. Then Radioactive from
7 o'clock.
Thank you. 7 to 9. And then on Sundays. And then World According to Elmer from
7 to 8.
On Tuesdays from 7 to 8. Jeez. But here we go. As the saying goes, it's time to be like a hockey player and get the puck out of here.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Pittsburgh!